Hey everybody, welcome back. In this video I'm going to show you how to play the outro guitar solo from AC/DC's classic Back in Black. Now if you want to learn the main guitar solo from this song, I do have a lesson here on YouTube and I'll put a link down below so you can go check that out. Now this outro solo, Angus never plays it live. Every time the band gets to this point of the song, they just kind of start breaking down the song and it ends. Which is a shame because for me, this is one of the most memorable outro guitar solos of all time. Part of that could be because it's such a super popular song and I've heard it 100 million times like you may have. But to me, it's just, I would love to see them play it live. It's too bad they don't. But either way, we're going to learn it because it's so much fun to play. Now, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play the entire solo for you slowly with the tabs on the screen. That way the more advanced players can get through this more quickly, and then I'll break it down note by note. Now, as we're getting into the tabs, if you start looking at them and going, this looks a little more complex than I thought it was going to be, don't worry, I'm going to show you some alternate ways of playing some of these sections that'll make it a little bit easier, which is the way most people play it. All right, let's go ahead and jump on into it. All right, here's section one. Now we're going to break that up into two boxes, and in the first one we do this. First thing I want to call out there is we've got that 13th fret bend on the B string, up a full step, hold it for a tiny bit, and then add a wide vibrato. All right, a lot of people miss that. It's a little bit more buried in the mix than the next note, but it's there. Then after that, we do a 12th fret bend on the B string, up a half a step, which is from here to here. And then you hold it for quite a bit and then slowly bring it down. Okay, before finally doing 10th fret B, add vibrato. Now a couple things I want to call out here though before we move on to box two. First of all, Angus doesn't use a ton of distortion, right? His amp is cranked, but he's not using a ton of gain, right? It's not a super saturated, metal tone, okay? And that helps when you're trying to play more dynamically, like in this solo, so keep that in mind. You might want to back off on the distortion if you use a ton. And also, Angus has a very fast, intense vibrato. So keep that in mind. Then in the second box, we do this. So you're basically picking the 17th fret of the low E string, sliding down, followed by a little string scratch on the G string. And then you're going to hit the D, G, and B strings about the 19th fret, and then slide down. Okay? Something like that. Don't get too hung up on that, but that's about where Angus is doing it, okay? Okay, let's tie both of those boxes together and play section one more time. All right, let's move on to section two. Here's section two at normal and then slow speed. So in the first box, we play this. Let me slow that down for you. Now you'll notice that those open E string notes die out pretty quickly because my finger hits the strings and mutes it. That's what happens when Angus plays it too. You can even skip those E string notes and just play it on the G string. And a lot of people won't know the difference because that's really the important part of it are those G string notes. And then also with this one, when you're playing it, you want to make sure you're muting the B string, okay? So it doesn't sound out. Then in the second box, we play this. So this time you're playing 7th fret of G with open E, pulling off on the G string to the 6th fret, and then 6th fret of G again, and then 7 of G open E, add vibrato to the G string. Once again, the E string notes kind of die out pretty quickly because my fingers hit them. That's natural, that's what happened to Angus too, so don't get too hung up on that. Now in that box, also, again, you're going to be muting the B string, but one thing I like to do is I keep my index finger at the 5th fret of the B string when I'm muting. That way, in case I accidentally hit it, it'll work within the context of this, this section, because it's basically the same thing as open E, right? So if you accidentally hit it, you'll be fine. Then in the 3rd box, so this time you're down at the 6th fret of the G string, simultaneously with the open E string, and you're pulling off that 6th fret note to the 4th fret, okay? And then 4th fret again, and then 6 of G, open E again, add vibrato to the G string. Slide down, okay? Now, when muting the B string at this part, I like to have my middle finger on the 5th fret of the B string once again in case I accidentally hit it, okay? And then finally in the 4th box, we play this. Okay? So you start off with a string scratch on D and G, followed by 8th fret of B and 7th fret of high E, bending up the 8th fret note on the B string a half a step, and then 9th fret of G, add wide vibrato, slide down. Now you notice that I'm catching the D string in there too. You can see it tabbed like as if I'm playing the 9th fret of G and 9th fret of D. Now you can certainly just skip that 9th fret of D string note because it's kind of buried in the mix. But you guys know I like to get every little nuance of the playing when I do these. So you can skip the D string and it'll sound like this. Either way, you should be fine. All right, now before I show you the easy way to play this section, let's play it the right way, this way, one more time at slow and then normal speed. So now for the easy way of playing that, take that main melody that you play on the G string and play that on the B string instead. And then add in those E string, open E string notes. A lot of people play it that way. It's kind of the easier way to do it. But if you watch Angus play live, he does the main melody on the G string, not on the B string. Either way, you should be fine. Of course, you guys know I like to get it as accurate as possible, even when it comes to fingering when I can. All right, let's move on to section 3. Okay, here's section 3 at normal and then slow speed. Okay, let's break it up into 3 boxes, and in the first one we play this. It's basically the same thing you did in box 1 of the last section, but this time you're not playing the 7th fret quietly when you hit it the second time. And again, don't worry about the E string becoming muted as you play. Then in the second box, it's basically the same thing you did in box 2 of the last section, but you're not pulling off to the 6th fret, you're picking every note. Then in the third box, very similar to what we did in box 3 of the last section. Again, no pull off. All right, let's tie those 3 boxes together again and play section 2 one more time at slow and then normal speed. Now again, if you want to make your life easier, you can always transpose all the G string notes down to the B string and play it like this. Again, Angus does play that melody line on the G string, but if it makes you more comfortable, try it on the B string. All right, let's move on to section 4. All right, here's section 4 at normal and then slow speed. break it up into 4 boxes, and in the first we do this. Let me slow that down for you. So you start with a little string scratch on the B string, followed by 15th fret of B, bend up a full step, and then 12 on high E, 12 on B. Then you're going to bend up at the 15th fret of the B string again, hold it for a tiny bit, and then you're going to bring the bend back down halfway, hit the note, and then back all the way up, hit the note again, add wide vibrato. Okay? Those are called pre-bends if you haven't done them before. It's where you bend the note up before you hit it. So in the second box, we play this. More pre-bends. So the first one, a lot of people miss this. You're going to bend up halfway, then hit the note and keep going. Okay? A lot of times people just start the bend from the bottom. Either way, you're going to be fine. But when you listen closely to the record, you can hear that Angus did a pre-bend there. Then you bring it back down halfway, hit the note, all the way up, halfway down, all the way up, add vibrato. Okay? Then in the third box, we have this. Let me play that slowly. Now, a lot of people miss that first note, okay? And they just play, which is fine because it's really quick and it's kind of buried in the mix. But it's there, it's a pre-bend. So you're playing that 15th fret of the B string that you already had bent up from the last section. So you hit that pre-bent note, followed by, so it's 12 on high E, 15 of B, pull off to 12, and then 14 of G, 12B, 12G, and then 14 of D, add vibrato, slide down. Now, alternatively, you could just play the high E twice. And most people won't know the difference. But to me, it sounded like Angus was doing the pre-bend because it's off a tiny bit from that 12th fret note that comes after it, which is a little bit more faint. But either way, you should be fine. Let's play that third box again, slowly. And if you want to leave that note out altogether and just play like most people do, totally fine, because the average ear is not going to hear it. Go back and listen to the record and you'll hear that extra note in there though. Then in the fourth and final box, so it's 15th fret of the high E, bend up a full step. And then you're going to do a pre-bend up a quarter step at the 15th fret and add wide vibrato. A lot of times you'll see that tabbed as a half step pre-bend up. Either way you should be fine, but to me it sounds a little flat from a half step, so I do a quarter step. Again, either way you should be fine. All right, let's tie those 4 boxes together and play section 4 one more time at slow and then normal speed. All right, let's move on to section 5. Okay, here's section 5 at normal and then slow speed. Now I intentionally sped up there about halfway through, and we'll get to that in just a minute. And I'll show you an easier way of playing this part too if this one's a little too challenging. But we'll break it up into 6 boxes. And in the first one, we're going to play this. So it's 15th fret of the high E, bend up a full step, followed by regular 15th fret of high E. Okay. Then in the second box, slowly. So it's 12 of high E, 15 of high E, pull off to 12. Then 15B, 12E, 15B. Then you do the same thing, but now you're on the B and G strings. So it's 12 of B, 15 of B, pull off to 12. 15G, 12B, 15G. Okay, let's play it so far, first 3 boxes. Then in the 4th box we do this. So you start with the 14th fret of the G, pull off the 12, hammer on to 14, pull off the 12. Then 14D, 14G, 14D. Now a lot of times people will miss that first note on the 14th fret and they'll just play 12G, 14G, 12G. Okay? Instead of. It's in there, okay? I listen to the isolated guitar tracks here on YouTube. Well, it's kind of isolated guitar tracks. I've got the rhythm and the lead guitar isolated from the other instruments, and you can hear him hit that 14th fret of the G string note. But a lot of people miss that, and I get it because it kind of disrupts the rhythm almost, right? But when you come out of the third box, right, you're gonna quickly go into that box, okay? All right, again, if it's easier, just skip that first 14th fret note and do. All right, then in the fifth box, we play this. So it's 12th fret of D, hammer on to 14, pull off to 12. Then 14A, 14D, 14A. Then 12th fret of D, pinch harmonic, quarter step, bend up. Okay. All right, then in the final box, box number 6, we do this. So it's 12th fret of the D string, adding pinch harmonics, and you play it 7 times. In kind of that sort of rhythm. Now, you're really adding these little tiny micro bends in there, like maybe 1/8 of a step, just barely bending it. All right. And when Angus plays that on the record, it kind of gets, out of sync a little bit, like it's off time. But hey, that's part of the beauty of this solo is it's not perfect and it was probably one take, right? Let's tie all those boxes together and play section 5 one more time at slow and then normal speed. Okay, let's move on to section 6. Here's section 6 at normal and then slow speed. Okay, let's break this up into a couple of boxes, and in the first one, we play this. So it's 20th fret of B, hold it for a little bit, and then give it a half step up bend. And then 21st fret of G twice. Okay. Then in the second box, we play this. So again, it's 20th fret of the B string, hold it for a tiny bit, then do a half step bend up. And then 21st of G, pull off the 19th fret, and then 21st of G, add vibrato. Okay? Here's the first 2 boxes. Then we play this 6 times. So you're playing the 20th fret of the B string 3 times, and on the 3rd time you hold it for a tiny bit before bending up about a quarter step. Okay? And then 21st fret of G. Okay? Then you play that 6 times. Then at the very end, you play the 20th fret of B string one more time. Now, oftentimes you will see people add in an extra note here, like when you play the 21st fret of the G, they'll add the 20th fret of B at the same time, like this. Something like that. You can certainly play it that way if you want. It does sound like when Angus is playing, he's hitting other strings at the same time, but they don't sound like they're sounding out to me. But either way, you should be fine. All right, let's tie those boxes together and play this section one more time at slow and then normal speed. All right, let's move to the last section. All right, here's the final section at normal and then slow speed. So you're going to start with the 22nd fret of the B string, bend it up a full step, and then 22nd fret of the high E. Okay? Then after that, you're going to play kind of the same thing, but you're going to do a pre-bend on the 22nd fret of B. So you bend it up halfway before you hit the note, and then keep going. Okay? And then you do that 6 times, followed by one more bend at the end. Now people always tab it with a full step bend throughout this section instead of that pre-bend halfway up before hitting it. But go back and listen and you decide for yourself. But for me, after that first bend, it sounds like Angus was doing those half step up pre-bends before hitting the note. All right, let's play this section one more time at normal and then slow speed. Now after that, the solo really just starts to fade out heavily. But the next part, it's very similar to what you just did at the 22nd frets, but it's like this. Kind of like that. If you want to know that, if you made it this far, you should be able to figure that out. But at this point, you might as well just end the song or just improvise and have fun, because that's certainly what Angus would do if he played this outro solo live. All right, let's wrap it up. Okay, that was my lesson on how to play the outro guitar solo from AC/DC's classic Back in Black. As I said at the beginning, if you want to learn the main guitar solo, I'll put a link down below where you can check that out. And if you found this helpful or informative, I would appreciate a thumbs up, and please hit that subscribe button if you want to catch more videos like this in the future. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below, and I will attempt to answer them as time allows. Until next time, rock on.